Let's get some information on the setup when saltwater fishing on the Backcast. I had a chance to spend some time with Tyler Vanosdell, who's the owner of Mission Bay Fly Fishing Company. He guides down in that area of Mission Bay, San Diego Bay, and some of the local beaches. A really unique experience in saltwater fly fishing. So I asked Tyler about his setup for saltwater fishing there on Mission Bay.
For my basic setup for San Diego, so besides the fact that we have our 7-weight rods and reels and our intermediate and even our sinking line that we use for the surf, after that a stripping basket is a necessary tool. So once we go to these sinking lines, once our line is out and actually on the water, that line is constantly going to be sinking. And especially once we're out in the surf, the water's not only going back and forth, it's also pushing side to side as well too. So that line's just going to be wrapped around everything. So the bucket saves us. It's basically a platform for our line to go into, so it doesn't create basically a bird's nest around us. And not only that, it actually helps us with friction. So as I start to make my recast out there, there's no friction pulling out, and I can make a nice clean cast out there. I do prefer sling packs. Gives me plenty of storage, and I do prefer waterproof. There are going to be times, especially when you're in the surf, where you get that ghost wave that comes up and splashes you. And before that, I didn't have waterproof, and just all your gear gets wet, your phone gets wet, whatever it might be. It's just not a good day. So I prefer systems like this. Flies and boxes, I mean, anything you've got, as long as you've got that waterproof pack, it's very, very helpful. So yeah. When it comes to the stripping basket, there's a lot to choose from. I myself personally, I make my own because I guess I'm cheap. But Orvis has a great one, Scientific Anglers has a great one. There's a lot to choose from out there. So you can make your own, they're very simple to make. So the main thing with the stripping basket that I like, number one, that it should have is depth. So you want to have a good depth to it, one, especially when it comes to wind. You don't want to have your line actually blown up and out of your basket. So, and the other thing too for line control is actually having what I call them these fingers, and these particularly is just weed whacker line. So you can kind of see these here. And what that does is as I'm laying my line into the bucket, it helps from keeping that line from kind of pulling together so that when I do make my recast, my line comes off nice and clean off of the bucket. And then other baskets also have notches that you can actually lay your rod into that kind of hold it, which is actually really nice too, especially when you're actually changing flies, you need to adjust your gear. It's just a spot to kind of hold your rod and keep it out of the way while you need to take care of business. In general, when it comes for clothing and for how I wade and what I wade in, when the summer months, a lot of times I'm wet wading when the water's nice and warm. But believe it or not, I know for me from San Diego, once we get into the evening time, it does cool off. So I do bring layers. I do like bringing a hoodie. I do like bringing maybe possibly a waterproof jacket just in case, especially in the surf. But then in the winter months, I will transfer into waders and boots. I do like protecting my feet. It's not necessarily about that the water's so cold, but I just want to stay dry, and when I get out of the water, I'm staying warm. So I know the water right now is probably in about the high 50s, but if you spend about 4 hours in that water, your core temperature is really going to drop. You will come out a little colder. So I just like to stay at least somewhat warm and at least coming out dry. So I'm using the same exact waders and boots as you would that you'd be using any river system. So any Sims or Patagonia, whatever your company that you like to go through is going to be the same. So obviously I just like to use the rubber boots out here. Obviously not using any of the foam type boots or anything like that. You won't find that transfer here. So it's just regular rubber boots and your standard waders that you can get. When it comes to gear, when you're in the salt water, always rinse your gear after every single use. So whether it's your rod and reel system or your waders and your boots, as best you can. If you have access to a hose in the front yard, I use that. But if you don't, just use your tub in your shower in your hotel room or wherever you're staying at. When it comes to my reel system, I'll take it apart at least 4 times a year. So unless I've really drug it through sand by accident, or maybe a situation like that. But more often than not, I'm just rinsing it through. But I will try to take it apart at least 4 times a year just to check the internals. And unless the performance of the reel I'm finding is actually starting to really go poor, then of course I'll take it apart and see what the issue is.
Cool information from Tyler Vanosdell. He's the owner of Mission Bay Fly Fishing Company. Really unique service down here in the San Diego area. He guides in Mission Bay as well as San Diego Bay and the local beaches. He's saltwater fishing, and it's very different, very unique. Somebody with expertise and knowledge in the local area. Let us know. We'll put you in touch with him, and we'll see you right here next time on the Backcast.